I have purchased myself a quietkat Apex hunting electric bike. As I was driving home today, I know they do make pannier bags or saddle bags, but I wanted to make one out of leather for myself on at least one side that's removable. Right now, I am just contemplating what shape I should go with. Kind of mimics the bars of the rack. I'm using a scrap cardboard to come up with my template. I'm just following the bars on the pannier racks and the three different bars that I can attach the top portion and make some straps to loop around and hang. I got my little helper here today, Leo.
Hi.
We have just cut up our template that kind of parallels through the brackets on the pannier rack. Now that I just set it down on the height that I want to cut off of, we're going to trace, if you would help me, trace this cardboard for me on the leather. This is our craft room, catch-all room that we have turned into my leather crafting studio or workshop, if you will. This is where the kids came and hung out and do their crafts, keep excess toys and everything. What I will be doing, I will be using both the back plate and the front plate of the same thicker height, and I'll use the center, the width from a smaller or lighter weight leather, so it has a little flexibility, so it expands out. So let's go at it and cut out our templates, mirror them on both sides. I also, when I marked the templates, I also marked, holding it against the bracket, where the brace points or straps that will be attaching to the rack should lay and position. So I marked them too, which will help me once I cut my leather to securely punch the holes, and where I'll be attaching my straps will be a lot easier to determine. So let me go ahead and cut these templates out and start coming up with an idea how I want to do the in-between and the overall flat part that obviously I want it closed. Now, of course, leather is not the best material to use for an outdoorsy electric bike that will be out in the elements, whether it's snowing or raining. But I thought about it this way. Well, the saddles and the saddlebags were all out of leather, and there are protection for them, whether it's beeswax or oils that will help protect the hide out of the elements and moisture. So, and I want to create something of my own that's custom made for this particular bike. Now that I have cut my template for the front fascia and the back, and I left an extra length so that it can come up and leap over. I did have an odd angle on the top of the lid, but I think it's gonna be a cool effect, I guess, as they are gonna be parted out, and this will come up about the width. This extra part I'll be shaving so that it folds and over. I have come up with my front plate and the back. I'm keeping the finished side of the height on the back. This will be the front. What I'll be doing, I'll be securing them parallel to each other, And then this back plate, I chose to keep the top portion a little longer, so eventually I can just fold it and over to create the lid, if you will, for the bag. That would kind of come up like this. I have this natural cut on the height. I deliberately left it alone. I think it'll add a nice effect. Eventually I'll be creating a width of the softer material, and the bottom probably should be a little harder to prevent for whatever I'm going to be throwing in there to poke a hole through it. I'll come up with the idea what I can do to secure. I'm using scraps, so whatever pieces I have left, I want to make the best use of it. And then once I come up with an overall rough idea what the shape and the size is, now that I am actually committed to this particular pattern, I will be punching my holes along the back like I showed you on my cardboard template. Wherever the attachment points will be to the rack, I'll be using some sort of strap mechanism. I am thinking of just leaving the holes and eventually buy the Velcro material. Not only that it is synthetic and it will not rip off, it'll be easily adjustable. So I may just add that eventually. I know I have blue color Velcro, but I don't think it's gonna match with anything else on the bike or the color that I may come up with the original leather hide. So eventually I'll be using black Velcro strips to attach it on the rack. Well, I'm gonna be going at it and weakening these fold points using this little handy dandy tool. No idea what it is called, but I know what it does. Again, I just come up with things as I have my inspiration right in front of me. Believe it or not, I brought that big bike right here in this craft room, so I can keep visualizing what I'll be putting on this, where I'll be putting on it, and how it should attach, instead of guessing what it be or going and taking measurements. I actually were crazy enough to drag the whole bike indoors. Working a little better to form that what will eventually be the lid. Trying to shave as much as I can for the fold line to get a little more moldable and pliable. So back side, this will be the lid, and fold over to the front plate. And then of course now I have to come up with a side and a bottom to convert this into a bag. Now I'm gonna go to the lighter weight leathers to make the side wall. I am trying to find the longest possible section to cut about a maybe 6-inch gap with a little bit of leeway on both sides for the stitching. It'll probably be about 5 inches wide, or maybe I can go a little wider just to give me some room for mistakes. There is a hole right here on the height that I have, so I'm going to try to leave as little waste as possible, and I'm going to mark this nice and straight and start cutting, and then I'll make a nice and square strip from the undamaged part, so it has a nice complete sidewall, if you will. So trying to avoid the hole, I will get my little razor blade and cut right along my steel rulers to make it as straight as possible. One side is marked. I'm going to visualize it by putting my mock side wall, if you will, give enough room for a fold and a stitch area. I think this is, if I mark it right here, right about 6 inches, just like I thought would be enough width on the saddlebag. So I'll be making a parallel cut to this. I'm gonna try to mark it so that it is little more parallel to each other. I am going to mark my 6-inch point from the very edge. I'm actually gonna, I left a little about a 1/2 inch space, so yes, it'll be about 6.5 inches in various spots, so I can run my ruler so it's a nice even width all the way across. And I'll go ahead and cut my strip and come up with how I'm gonna attach it to the front and the back panels. Now that I have cut my strip of the softer, lighter leather, I am trying to visualize how this will wrap around so I can mark my fold points and come up with a good way to secure the sidewall to the front. I'm thinking of using some rivets. I may add a little stitching, but I think rivets will, if I have enough, will be actually easier and really secure to attach the side piece. I'm gonna roughly hold it in place, mark my joint area where the fold marks should be made, so it follows this corners nice and snug. They are tough to see as I just moistened my hide. So I think I'm going to use a little tool to score it, or maybe just give it a little notch, because eventually I have to cut them where they should fall. After running out of memory on the SD cards, I have actually gone ahead and progressed a little. This is going to be my back plate. The front plate will come up here, and the lid part will come over. Now, this section will be the width of my saddlebag, and the other portion will follow and create the saddlebag all together. I am going along at the stitching. Let me show you. What I'm doing right now is just a rough stitch to keep it. This part I just realized I cut the holes a little too far. As you can see, there's this gap. I will either trim it or find a better way to hide that. But as you see, I'm doing one over, under, over, under. I'm going along as the stitching goes. Once I go to the very end, I'll be reversing that thing, so it's actually double the strength. Now that it is shaping up and I'm actually turning around the corners, you will see that the side walls started to stand up. Let me do that, and the corners are shaping up. Coming up, the corner, eventually the top piece will be going. Another one, the corner, and it's gonna go along all the way here and follow the pattern. If I can get my gimbal angle correct, you'll see that it actually is gonna follow along all that. And right there is the corners again. Well, I'll continue stitching along. I don't want to waste too much time on it tonight. I'll see how far I can go, and we'll continue our video as I progress. It's a little difficult to work with an extra long thread because, like I said, I want to stitch all the way along and then go back, reverse it, so it is double stitched. But feeding the needle through and pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling a very long string becomes tiring. Well, it has to be done. That's what I chose to do, to double my strength instead of starting all over again with a separate piece of string. I wanted them to be all one piece. Where I start at one corner, I go along, and once I finish, I will have my knot on the one side tucked in the corner too, instead of having separate pieces of thread. God knows where it would have finished, and I would have to keep tying knots to attach them together. This way it'll hopefully be a little more continuous and a seamless look. Now I have completed one side of the stitching. Now I'm going the double. As you can see, now it's gonna be complete between the holes instead of one skipping over, which will also help add strength and hold the pieces together a lot nicer and tighter. So I'm going to do this whole stitching process in reverse and complete my one side. Then I'll get onto the front fascia and do this whole thing all over. Well, I have done one side of the stitching right there, and this is what it looks like. Now these corners have to be worked. Once the top piece actually goes on it, just in the same way it follows. I will have a saddlebag, just roughly holding. I will be again following this whole pattern right there across. I decided to put a cardboard form that I'll be cutting out, or a hard plastic for the inside and the bottom, so things that's gonna be loaded in there will not be hurting the bottom of the saddlebag. Again, this eventually will wrap up, and I'll find a way to secure this lid onto the forward section. Progress, slowly but surely. What I've been doing as I was waiting, I am start to burnishing the edges to give a nicer, smoother edge. I may just do a little trimming just to make it a little more even. The little piece that was a little off here, I just trimmed it so it's a little more flush. Just beveling my edges with the edge bevelers. This is nice. I have been burnishing the outside edge. And here. Now, before I put the front fascia on, I make sure I punched and cut my holes for where the Velcro straps will be going through to attach it to the rack. I'm just playing with this, trying to edge it out. Again, this was the natural cut of my height. I just decided to keep it. It kind of gives a little angle and a little character as if it was intentionally made, because I do use what I have instead of wasting material, and it just actually worked out just fine. Again, just let me put the lid on tentatively, because this will be stitched up all the way, which I'll probably be going at tomorrow. And my lid, and this would be the overall shape that follows the angles on the bike rack. The back, where the Velcro straps will be going through. I may actually put a couple of leather loops here to be able to maybe attach a handle, so if I need to take this with me, throw a loop around the shoulder just to have it carried in if I ever need to leave the bike outdoor, maybe driving in a city street, whatnot. So I may just come up with some sort of a loop system for that purpose only, so that I can attach some sort of a strap. Alright, well, I think this is gonna be it for tonight. So you guys say hello in this beautiful evening. I am continuing to make my saddlebag, day 2. Just lost my little braces for metal loops. This is the front, the back part. I am going to be attaching these little belts with these little metal braces to put my Velcro through, or some sort of attachment to the rack. But before I start attaching the front fascia, I wanted to come up with a design of my design for my saddlebag. Since I am making this for a quietkat brand e-bike, I printed their logo today. I transferred it onto a transfer paper and pushed the imprint on the leather surface, so even when the lid actually comes over, this will be the exposed part, so it'll still show. I use my little knife, specialty knife, and cut the design out. Now I'll be working the pattern with my certain punches to give that raised print effect. So let's start with the centerpiece. I'm using my little anvil to create a hard surface. You can use a granite or a quartz block. My had broken, so it's not as large of a surface. So I'll be using my anvil to create that hard surface, so I can, give as much impact as I need to create that depth. Again, my pattern, the eyeball area on their logo is kind of yellow, so what I'll do, I'll be pressing down the center of where the eyeball kind of would be down, and then maybe I'll choose to use a yellow dye to actually paint it out to give that effect. And the outline of this eye, like a cat's eye, quietkat brand, made the letter Q mimicking the cat's eye, so that actually the whole thing is black and the eyeball of the cat is yellow. So I may actually use fine tip brushes and kind of paint that out, but I want to make sure it still stands out, because whatever color, maybe antiquing look or effect that I'll be doing for the rest of the saddlebag, I want this logo to stand out, because it's kind of a special made saddlebag for my new quietkat brand bike. I want to go with the theme. Now that I picked the right size punch, I'm just working carefully along the edges of my cut mark on this iris section of the eyeball, just like that. And then this whole interior, the whole eyeball will be imprinted down, and the iris will be elevated to give that illusion. So let's go at it. Let me go work at it and I'll show you the progress. I switched to a little larger punch, and as you see, I'm going along the top section of the eye right now. It just taking my time because I want the lines to come up nice and crisp and a very sharp edge, and it's the tedious part of this whole process, along with stitching. Leather work is amazing. It's very self-satisfactory, especially when you create something out of nothing. But the punching the design and or hand stitching is the gruesome work. Speaking of the hand stitching being a gruesome work, today when I was searching on YouTube, I came across some videos some people put on. I mentioned the leather sewing machines are being very pricey. I just came across, just by chance, a $115 Amazon purchase, Chinese made hand cranked leather sewing machine. And I've seen more and more videos, and some people actually motorize them to help make the process a little faster, so they can actually have both of theirs free to be able to manipulate the leather as it's going through the sewing machine. Guess what I did? I went on Amazon. The same deal was about $94, $95, and I also bundled it with some extra thread and some needles and some other tools that came with it for about $120. $95 for the sewing machine, some extra threads, different colors, and some extra tools for leather work. I thought it was a good deal. Why not? For $100 sewing machine, why not try it? I've seen a lot of the people actually made comments about some parts do need to be filed down, maybe fine-tuned or customized a little. But overall, everybody was quite happy for a very, very, very inexpensive, especially knowing how expensive this hobby is. The automated or even the famous brands hand cranked sewing machines are in the upwards of 12, 13, even pricier in US dollars. And the automated was in the 3,000, 5,000, 7,000 maybe. I said, why not? For $100 or around $100, let's give it a try. And I'm excited. It should be delivered by Friday, in 2 days. I'll try to make a video of that, see what I think of it, if I can actually manage to sew successfully with it. I did use a sewing machine when the COVID has begun. I decided to make my own masks because, like I said, why not? And that's my motto. If somebody can do it, why can't I? And why shouldn't I make it? Why not? So let me go work at this. I'll come back and show you the progress again. Thanks for watching. I have worked the pattern into the design. I will let it dry, and I'll go to stitching process. As you guys know, it's the lengthy and boring process. I may also just go ahead and paint this before I go and stitch. Here's the quietkat logo. Just wanted to give you an idea where the inspiration came from. Like I showed you earlier, I have printed the logo, transferred it onto the transfer paper, and now I just worked it onto my leather. The paint is a little moist still. I'm gonna wait it to dry. I may have to do a little touch-ups to get that little crisper look where the black and the yellow kind of meets. Looks like I just bled right here a little. But after that, I'll be doing the stitching and overall coloring or dyeing the whole pannier rack or the bike rack bag for my bicycle. Well, hello. Tonight, before I put the faceplate on my saddlebag, I am trying to put these little loops where I'll be attaching the Velcro to wrap it around the bike rack so I can easily attach or detach at will. I am using some rectangular loops. I had few of these chrome ones, but I had a lot more of this goldish and they're a little flatter profile. So what I'm doing is I'm putting them through the little leather strap. I'm pushing it into the other side where I'll be putting snaps inside, just like this, where it'll be nice and secured from inside, but the rectangular loops can accept the Velcro stripping to be able to attach it. So let me go place these. I'll put some snaps on it and I will be going back and attaching the front. After having put one snap, I just realized that these will be, the back of the straps will be taking a lot of space unless they lay flat against the hide right there. So what I decided to do is to drill holes through the back plate as well, so I can put my snaps through the whole thing so they lay nice and flush against the hide, so there's less things to catch on to. If I can get the camera angle right, I want to show you what I'm talking about. Well, my stitching for the front plate is done. Now I actually have something that would hold stuff that you put in. I am still to maybe dye it, for sure, weather protected with some wax or whatnot. Now, if you recall, I just had this piece of leather and it naturally had this odd shape cut out, so I wanted to keep that. That's why I placed my logo and the design right towards the front of the saddlebag. What I'm thinking now is, obviously I have to have a buckle of some sort to hold this in place. I have purchased a little D-ring that's on a platform and a clip. Now I'm gonna figure out somehow to use those clip and the buckle to attach it somehow so that I can just hook it right in to the ring to hold it closed. Again, my thought process is always going. I just wing things, I go at it and I come up with ideas as I go, but so far this is what I have. Now, to hold the shape, the leather in here, of course when you put stuff in it will be keeping its form somehow. However, what I thought of doing is cut out a little maybe a yoga mat or some those interlocking foam paddings that you put in like workshops. I'm just gonna cut a little rectangular piece and insert it at the bottom. Not only it will hold, you know, whatever things I'll be throwing in here to carry, it'll also create that rectangular shape so the bottom is always nice and flat. It will just keep it in form. So let me ponder at what I will be doing or how I'll be attaching this buckle so that it is functional. Well, after spending some time, finished my fasteners where I'll be putting the Velcro straps to attach it to the bike rack. I have oiled the overall case generously, and I have used mink oil to somewhat weatherproof it. As it soaks up the oils, I'll be doing another coat on maybe another, but right now it does have a form and it is functional. And I have not only completed stitching the front, adding my fasteners, I have also put a little buckle to the front so that I can just unclip it. Sorry, can't see the camera angle. And then when I'm done, just snap it back on. My finger still has some of the wax and the oils. I should have cleaned them, but there it is. It looks like a functioning case. Once it is attached, I'll be mounting right here with the angle of the bike and the saddle itself, and then back through here. I'm not sure how the camera is capturing this using my gimbal camera, so it keeps trying to swivel the head right there. Well, this was a fun project. I am happy with the outcome. As a amateur leathercraft worker, I don't think it is very bad. Well, I have burnished the edges, gave a nice sheen, again generously applied oils to the leather so it's nice and pliable, and a few coats of mink oil just to wax the surface so the water just beads right off. There's no dye except for where I have hand painted the logo. You can see it's still a little wet from the oils where the stitch holes absorbed a little more. Excuse me. I can still feel the little greasiness. I can see there is a little more wetness right here where I've been applying the oils, but hopefully it is appealing to many. And this is my design. I followed the contour of the bike rack and I wanted to make something again of my own. I appreciate working with leather, creating something out of nothing. I hope this is inspiring to some that has no education or training about the craft. Neither did I. I just watched some videos. I watched masters doing great things and just keep telling myself, if they can do it, why can't I? These are by no means a professional grade crafts or products that I make, because this is not for merchandise purposes or commercial purposes, period. I just make it to please myself for creating something, but more importantly, I do use them, like my leather vest I made. I have started gathering some of the crafts that I have done over the years. I would like to show you those on a different video, but hopefully you like it. My quietkat Apex electric e-bike saddlebag, just completely made out of heavy leather with the soft materials. Use some rectangular brackets to be able to put my Velcro or some sort of belting through so I can attach it to the rack. But as it is usable. It does have a nice volume to it, so it should carry a lot of things as I ride in the woods, whether it be a knife or gloves or ropes or what have you. There will be a great storage pocket that I will drag along anywhere I pedal this bike into. Well, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I sure did. See you in the next video. Goodbye. I have the saddlebag on the quietkat. I actually went with the easy way out by just using zip ties to secure it on the rack. The way I lined my braces up is actually working out pretty good. I just want to make sure it's easily removable. That's why I was thinking of Velcro like strapping to be able to use that. As you can see, hopefully you can see, just zip ties right now that needs to be cut off, but it looks good. I took it for a quick ride. Your foot is not hitting the saddle. I'm not sure with bulky boots how it's gonna be, but I tried putting my foot tippy toe on the pedal so there's more heel towards the back, and even centered it the right way to pedal. It still cleared just fine. I was pretty happy to see that happen. Well, here's my quietkat handmade leather saddlebag on a brand new 2020 Apex 1000 watt mid-hub drive electric bike.